Good morning and welcome to our Indiana County Commissioners debate here on WCCS, also available on Renda Digital TV. Grateful that you've joined us. Grateful to have in the studio with us this morning our four candidates listed on the ballot for this year's Indiana County Commissioners race. And I'll give them in the order of the opening statements as determined by drawing. And we'll get those opening statements underway and then question our candidates this morning. From my left, it is Robin Gorman, Shireen Hess, Mike Keith, and Aaron Lehman. All of them listed on the ballot for this year's general election on November the 7th. Each of our candidates will have an opening statement and a closing statement. And as I said, those were determined by drawing before the event this morning. Each of those opening statements will be 90 seconds in length or less, depending upon what the candidate does. So we will be getting those underway here this morning. We thank you for joining us. We thank our commissioners. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's good to have you all with us here today. Robin Gorman, you were the first name drawn for today, our opening statements, and the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Robin Gorman. When I ran to be your commissioner 4 years ago, I told you I had 30 years of diverse career experience that I wanted to put to work for you, the people of Indiana County. As one of your commissioners, I'm proud to say I have delivered on my promises. I put myself on the front line with our county employees. I told them all, I want you to have every tool in your toolbox to serve our residents who count on us every day. I worked alongside all of our directors and elected colleagues to plug an $18 million deficit my first year in office, an unprecedented amount in a most unprecedented pandemic. I worked to eliminate the county's per capita tax, as I said I would do, and not without taking my foot off the gas, I worked to refinance our bonds and loans to reduce the county's debt by $13 million. I promised I would explore every way I could to cut costs and work smarter, not harder, and I did. Simultaneously, I invested in broadband, basic water and sewage projects desperately needed throughout our municipalities, care for our elderly, food security, housing, mental health, and emergency services, just to name a few. If you want a commissioner who works for you 24/7, 365, rain or shine, in creeks, ditches, meeting rooms, or legislators' offices, vote Robin Gorman, your county commissioner.
Thank you, Robin. And the second candidate with an opening statement this morning is Shireen Hess.
Good morning, and good morning to all the listeners out there. Thank you, Renda Broadcasting, for this opportunity to share our vision of this, what we have for Indiana County, of this beautiful place we call home. And that is what it is all about, creating a better future for those who live here and work here and raise their families here. I've worked really hard in my 30 years of living in Indiana County, and especially these last several years as being your county commissioner. I've served in many civic and service-related organizations and in my professional career. In my drive to serve my community, I think it was very much a result of a lot of positive youth experiences, including my experience in Girl Scouts, where I was taught to respect others, help people, and serve my country, and I've been doing that every day for the last many years. As a kid, I had a lot of positive role models and caring adults in my life, and when my family experienced hard times, that community was there for me, and also our local government was there for me. Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I understood later on that it was government acting in the right ways that help people in their time of need. So I've made it a goal in my public service to do government the right way. That means helping people in their time of need, providing for public safety and emergency response, helping communities have the resources they need to thrive, providing for safe and secure, accurate elections, all within a fiscally responsible environment. I hope that I have earned your vote for Shireen Hess, County Commissioner, this November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. The other two candidates on the ballots are the gentleman to my right, Mike Keith and Aaron Lehman. And by order of drawing, Mike Keith, your opening statement is next.
Good morning, Todd.
You'll need to pick your microphone up.
Good morning, Todd, and good morning to the viewers. I want to, again, also appreciate Renda Broadcasting for having this debate today. 4 years ago, when I actually decided to run for county commissioner, my dedication and commitment was 110%, and it's still that way today. When I told you that I was running for commissioner, what my thoughts were to actually a vision for Indiana County. I told you I was going to come in and I was going to run this as a business, and I did. First month and a half, we came in and I assessed our county facilities, our county finances, and our county structure. And it needed a lot of work. And I was committed 7 days a week to make sure that that was going to be what my end was going to be in 4 years. COVID came along, and actually 2 years of that, it was very difficult. But I would tell you that I was there 7 days a week, working on the opportunities that we actually needed to do to make Indiana County better, and also dealing with the pandemic. And I will tell you that I promised that I would do things, and I made them come through. So we had a lot of work to get done, and again, we did a lot of financial structure. We did bring the debt down from $54 million down to $41 million. And we did bring a lot of broadband because the pandemic actually made that stick out. So I'm asking for your vote because I have a lot more work to do in the next coming 4 year terms, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Mike Keith, and our final candidate this morning, drawn, is Aaron Lehman. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys? Thank you, Todd, 1160, and my fellow candidates in Indiana County. I'm Aaron Lehman, and I'm asking for your vote for Indiana County Commissioner. I graduated from IUP 32 years ago and raised my kids in Homer City. I've also started a business in Indiana County. I've been a financial professional for 23 years. My background in budgeting will be an asset to the county and the County Commissioner Office. I'm Vice President of Family Promise. We're a local nonprofit that provides families through training to become productive members of the community. As President of Parks and Recreation, I turned a deficit into a profit in 3 years. I've written grants that assisted in adding updates to facilities in Homer Center. This makes families and residents have safer places for recreation. One of the most enjoyable things about my campaign is knocking on over 3,000 doors in all four corners of the county. I've been meeting one-on-one with people, listening to concerns, listening to ideas, and it's been wonderful. I met with a bunch of county department heads. I attended Broadband, Volunteer Fire Department, Conservation District, Farmers Bureau meetings. I'm a member of the Farmers Bureau now. This has helped me gain knowledge so I can perform my job as Indiana County Commissioner. While I may lack in experience, my drive and determination to continue to get out and work with our residents will make me a more productive team member. It was a pleasure to get to know residents and county employees that make Indiana County an amazing place to move and live. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to each of our candidates for their opening statements this morning. Now we're going to ask questions of the candidates, some of which we've come up here at the radio station, and some of which have been submitted by our listeners. And the responses will be 90 seconds in length, with the other candidates limited to 60 seconds for their response as well. So we'll begin in the order from which the opening statements were drawn. Robin Gorman, you'll have 90 seconds with this question. And we got a number of questions having to do with the Homer City Generating Station and coal. And I think I've pretty well narrowed them down to 3 different questions, and you can address these questions with us next. The first question is, Homer City Generating Station is shutting down. Does the county have a role in what happens to that property, or should it, beyond the obvious hope that somebody comes in and makes something out of it? You have 90 seconds.
Yes, thank you. And I'm very glad to hear that this is a concern of our community, as it should be. So the Homer City Power Generating Station is owned by 5 private investors. And the short answer to the question, should the county have a role in what happens next, is yes, we should, as well as our state and our federal partners and our county partners and our municipal partners, who are the closest to the people who live in that township and borough. So the hard part is it's private ownership. So we can only go in as a willing and leadership partners wanting the best for our community and what's next to come. We can't tell them what to do. We can't tell them not what to do. We need to work with them to say, what can we do to transition this great asset, and there are many there, to make it work for our community and our future. It is attached to the grid. which makes it immensely viable. It also has lots of land and property, which makes it a great asset that can continue to be used, and a railway that goes through there. We are working diligently with those owners as partners to try and make good things happen for our future.
All right, and for the response, 60 seconds for each of our other three candidates. And Shireen Hess, you have the first response.
Thank you. Yes, the closing of the power plant is an enormous hit to our community. We understand those displaced workers are real people with real families and real expenses to be met. So that is our number one priority, is to help the system find places for those folks to go. Yes, of course we should be involved. We live here. We all work here. All of our communities are affected by this incident. And thankfully, there are many federal and state investments coming our way to coal communities. And I've been very involved with those things, and as has our economic development folks. So we have lots of opportunities now to go into the future with Indiana County. Indiana County is a leader in energy production and all things energy related, and we can continue to be a leader in that arena. And I look forward to the county playing a major role in working with our communities, the workers, and all the businesses that are affected by that incident. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shireen. Mike Keith.
As the two others have said, it is not only a valuable asset to Indiana County, but it is part of the energy sector that the county actually is big on. But as Robin said, that it is a privately owned company. I think the biggest way for the county to be a part of that is actually working with our state legislators and actually giving the options to either those individuals right now who own it, or if anybody else coming in that is interested, because that power grid is a major component of the electric system that we actually have. And everything is still intact there. Maybe it gets diversified into something else, but at the end of the day, we need to work hard in collaboration with all others to make sure that we can actually keep this valuable asset here in Indiana County. And the most important thing is to provide jobs where we actually need people to be.
Aaron Lehman.
Okay, so excuse me. This is personal and business for me, and the reason why is I live in Homer City, so I definitely see the impact of it. The other thing is Parks and Recreation. Two of our entities are the township and the school district, and with the plant closing down, they may lose some funding, which one of the first things they may do is stop Parks and Rec, and I've done a lot of work for the past many years to get Parks and Rec to where it is. So it's very personal to me in that respect. We lost, people that are driving coal trucks, or lost people that are, in the coal jobs, and the big thing is this: we need to be leaders, because we are Indiana County and we are leaders of the county. And I agree, we need to work with our state and federal folks to do that. We also need to work with Byron Stauffer. He's doing a lot of stuff with grants. We need to make sure that we get something in there that can turn that turbine to make electricity in a profitable way, so they can hire people and pay taxes. So thank you.
All right, our next question, Shireen Hess, you'll get the first response for this one. You'll have 90 seconds, and it's actually, I'm going to consolidate two questions into one. It has, again, to do with coal, and I don't want to get tied up on this and to the neglect of other issues that have been raised by our listeners. It's pretty clear Tom Wolf in the state of Pennsylvania played a large role in shutting down that plant. The combined questions, is Keystone, what about Huff and Seward, are they endangered as well? And should the county have any voice at all in whether or not they close? And if another company comes in and says, we want to open one of those plants up again, but be coal-fired, would you be in favor of another coal-fired plant?
That's a lot of questions in one question, so I will try to do my best here. There are a lot of market forces that we have no control over that have affected coal. Coal was king for many decades, and our workers know how good those jobs were. And a lot of people, union labor, and unions, of course, we know build our middle class. So, yes, we understand that coal has played a very critical role in the development and the prosperity of our county. There are forces at work here with other natural resources coming to bear. There are regulations that are coming to bear that are designed to improve human health and the quality of life in our communities. County government has some role in that, but we are at sort of the mercy of the legislature and the laws that get made at that level. So as far as the other two plants, I know that there are things at work that some water quality regulations that have them in some amount of jeopardy, but I'm going to say I don't know all those details, and I think we are a couple of years out on that. So now is the time to start planning for the future of what might happen at those locations. So I just want to say that I'm committed as county commissioner to work with our state legislators, our federal partners, our local partners to figure out answers and find solutions to those problems.
All right, Shireen, thank you so much. Mike Key.
Actually, the other two power plants, their jeopardy is the wastewater, and that actually is through the federal regulations, not the state. I will tell you that those power plants are just as important as Homer City was. Again, there's jobs there. There's people there that need those jobs to live. And when it gets into coal, and you ask about whether I'd be in favor of another coal fire plant, I would be. It's not that we don't need those other combinations, and those other combinations will work, but coal is part of it, because you cannot take away something that you can start up rapidly to get the energy, the electricity going. The other thing is, I have a son that works in the coal mines. He's been there for quite a while. And I want my children to be here and stay in Indiana County. And I'm proud of that. So anything I can do to keep those jobs open, and I welcome another coal fire plant, but I'd welcome all those other as a mix. But we do need these jobs.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lehman.
Okay, so I remember 2 years ago they said that the power plant was closing down, and then it didn't close down. And then my thing is this: the future should have been planned now. And we should have had something ready to go, because once again, when we have the loss of taxes from a business, that's not going to be good for the economy of Indiana. One of the things we need to do, and whether it's coal, whether it's natural gas, whatever it is, we need something, like I said before, to turn that turbine to make electricity. So whatever company can come in here, turn the turbine, they can pay taxes and create jobs, especially union jobs. That's what we need to make sure we're getting in here. The infrastructure is already here. It's an amazing place to come to move your business to. We need to make sure that people are coming here and making sure that we can make Indiana County successful because they're here. Thank you.
All right. Robin Gorman.
It was funny to hear you say Huff. I haven't heard that in a long time, and I worked at Seward Power Station for a couple of years of my career. I'm going to answer the question right off. Yes, I would be in support if a company came in and wanted to reopen those plants with coal-fired. The answer is yes. And here's why. Reggie was a big part of what you're talking about with Tom Wolf. The truth is, every plant, including Homer City at the time, was meeting and slightly even exceeding the environmental regulations that were put on at that time. They could see the future
with broadband, especially in rural areas. So now, since there's such a big push, manufacturers can't produce enough in time for those constructions to happen immediately. Yes, you probably have not seen trucks out there on the poles and everything, but I assure you that these materials have been ordered by the two contracts we recently did, and they are actually materials coming in, and they have a certain amount of time that they said they would get this up, but eventually, like I said before, it's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of time, but most of all, it's going to take patience. Right now, after these last two awards of these contracts, Indiana County still has a high $70 million plus to actually get broadband throughout Indiana County, but we're committed to get it done.
All right. Aaron Lehman?
All right, so broadband. When I went out to the Pennsylvania teacher strikes, I found out that they had to actually come back to school because the kids didn't have broadband during COVID. So broadband's not just a necessity, it's life or death. And what we need to do is make sure that we're getting broadband out to the rural areas. Honestly, I am not in there yet, so I don't know all the inner workings and everything with it. The thing that we have to do is make sure that that's one of our biggest priorities, so we can get students, we can get parents to be able to go online, research. People can go on to CareerLink, get jobs. We need to make sure that we have that access available for people in the rural areas especially. I've gone out to a bunch of rural areas, and that's one of the biggest complaints that I've heard. Thank you.
Robin Gorman.
West Mahoning, it's on its way. I brought the map. I like visuals. It's on its way. And I know it sounds sort of hollow, almost like the checks in the mail. But it is. It's a complex issue. I hate it when people tell me that because I'm like, explain it. It's not that complex that I can't understand it. But the nation is up for broadband equity, access, and development because it is such a vital, critical need. In every topic we're going to talk to you about today, you're going to find a need for broadband. It's a $42.5 billion price tag from our federal government to give all of the nation's states at least $100 million to invest. We invested during the CARES, if you remember, $3 million to $7 million, and we just invested $14 with REA. It's on its way.
Shireen Hess.
Thank you. Yes, the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Act is going to bring $1.16 billion to Pennsylvania. They are in the process of developing a plan that's going to get broadband expanded across Pennsylvania. How does that help us? We're part of it, but it is going to take time. We know broadband is not a luxury anymore, and we know for Indiana County to be competitive and remain competitive, we need that, and we need it now. We talked about some of the issues and why it's so slow, but Indiana County's need is really actually much greater than most of the surrounding counties. We are just remote, and we have topography, and we have a lot of areas that are not even covered by cell phone, let alone this expansion of broadband. And remember, we do have to focus on our unserved and underserved areas. That is what the funding permits. That doesn't mean we're not paying attention to the folks who are the technology is going to advance every day. So we need to be paying attention to it all. I think we're up for that challenge, and I thank the folks for being patient with us.
Last word on the topic of broadband, back to Mike Keith.
So coming in as commissioner, I stated then that broadband was going to be one of my number one keys as going through the 4 years as commissioner. I stated that, and again, I meant it. Pandemic came on, like I said, it just accelerated the need. But through the last 3.5 years that we've been in, we have actually committed and constructed $20 million to the broadband system. We will continue, and we will continue to work getting grants from our state, from our federal. We will continue to work on getting this broadband through. We were actually in a better shape coming into office because the pre-planning of broadband by the planning office was already laid out for us. All we have to do now is make sure that those priorities are hit, and that those areas in the rural areas are hit, so we can get those people who are underserved and get those businesses up, because businesses rely more on the broadband just as much as the students do.
All right, Aaron Lehman will get first crack at our next question. Just a reminder, all of our candidates will have the opportunity to revisit any topic of their choice that we've talked about when we get to the end of this morning's event. The next question, Aaron Lehman. How has the job of a county commissioner evolved in your opinion? Do you consider it a full-time job, something requiring you to be on the clock 7 days a week?
Yeah, you know what? When I've been canvassing and I've been going around, I've gone to a lot of events. I've pretty much been everywhere, and that's one of the things you have to do, because that's the only way to find out what issues there are in the county and what issues are there in the rural areas where I've hit pretty hard. I've listened to the fire companies. I've done a lot of stuff with that. So I think it's gotten to be a full-time job. we definitely need to make sure that, our energy is making the lives better of Indiana County, and especially the rural areas. And we need to make sure that the rural areas know that they have a voice, that they're seen, and make sure that they, that they're proud of where they're from. And I don't find that a whole lot. And I think one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure that they, people are happy from where they are, and succeed. So, yeah, thank you.
Robin Gorman.
Wow. After 4 years, I told you I was up for the job and going to take it seriously because it's no small job. And to this day, I can tell you after 4 years, it isn't. It's major. The county commissioners are responsible for a lot of services that touch our everyday residents in their everyday lives. So things like what we're in right now, elections. We are the boots on the ground, and we are the front line of your elections process. Assessment and taxation, keeping your taxes as low as we possibly can, but delivering quality services. The human service areas are multiple. Mental health, of course, is the big one right now, caring for our elderly, veterans, you name it. Juvenile justice, children and youth, the courts and corrections, planning, land use, transportation, community economic development, and emergency services, just to name a few.
Shireen Hess.
Thank you for the question. Yes, it certainly does feel like 7 days a week. When you're in public service, you do make a commitment to be available to the public, and that is a double-edged sword sometimes. You also need to find work-life balance. I learned a long time ago that decisions are made by those who show up, and I've made a commitment to show up. And that doesn't mean, showing up during daylight hours. That means showing up in the evenings and going to people. I've visited our four corners and, east, west, north, and south Indiana County, and put a spotlight on a lot of our communities. There's a lot of needs out there. Obviously, 3 people in one office cannot meet all of those needs. So it is important to develop partnerships, develop relationships, understand how the systems work or sometimes don't work. Try to find the workarounds that you can to help people in their time of need and to solve the problems that are now, but also think about future problems. So thank you.
Mike Keith.
It is a full-time job. I'm going to tell you right now, it is a full-time job. 7 days a week, 365 days a week, night and day. When I came in, we started making the assessment, like I said, on the facilities. We needed a lot of things done with our county facilities. Along with that, the finances, we had a lot of work to do with our finances. Working with our 35 departments, our boards, our authorities, all those needed attention. So it is a full-time job. Along with that, you have to actually get out there and meet with your municipalities, because you have to develop that partnership. If we're going to get stuff done in Indiana County, that partnership between municipalities and county government, even though local government overrules what they actually do, we need to develop that partnership. When the pandemic came in, I wasn't at home or anywhere else. I was in that courthouse 7 days a week to do my job that I committed to the residents of Indiana County. And I continue doing it, and I will continue doing it in the future.
Final word, Aaron Lehman.
Okay, so the thing is this: when I've gone out to the rural Indiana County, people are working 24 hours a day there. I mean, there are people that are, now that Waste Management has moved out, they've had to spend hours and hours driving with the Waste Management. So if they're going to be working all the time, we need to be working also all the time, because we're the leaders, and we need to make sure that they understand that that we also understand what they're going through.
We have had a round of questions for each of our candidates, and we swing back around to Robin Gorman, and you will get the first chance at this question. And it has to do with infrastructure. Commissioner Keith just mentioning the county-owned buildings. What are some projects you think are necessary for the county to undertake in the next 4 years, be they roads, sewage, buildings, or services that the county can offer but that are not currently provided?
Well, Number one is we're going to keep our foot to the pedal on broadband, right? That's ongoing infrastructure, major needed in every single capital county project we have. We're also going to continue investing and working on the major basic quality needs of our people. Basic needs like clean drinking water, sewage projects. They mean, you can't imagine what those kinds of basic needs mean to our people across this county. And you'd be amazed at those things that aren't there currently that are needed. We also continue, and you brought up Homer City, and all the candidates have alluded to it. It doesn't take one person to get anything big done in life, right? Big projects take a big team all working together and bringing big money to secure good things for our future. So we do continue to work on replacing jobs at Homer City. We look at new investments with the basic lay of water and sewage and the amenities such as broadband to draw more businesses to Indiana County and want to call this their home. Transportation, we continue to work on our roads. PennDOT is another partner with us. So we're invested and we will continue to be.
Shireen Hess.
Thank you. Yes, infrastructure is the word we keep coming back to all the time because it's so important. You have to have, those are the underpinnings of what makes a community successful, what makes them thrive, what makes them competitive, and that is really what we want to do. We're all about connecting with the wider economy so that our businesses can thrive and be part of the all those special things that help them sell their products and services, so that our people can be knowledgeable and understand how they can improve their quality of life. So yes, we're going to keep working on water, sewage, stormwater. Our airport is very important these days. You know, it's an important thing for a small community to be connected to that wider world. If we want to be talking with some global companies and, you know, regional partners, we need those resources. Emergency response is another very important thing that we need to make sure is properly resourced. The enabling legislation for our 911 system is up for reauthorization, and we're working very hard with our legislators to get that. So thank you for the question.
Mike Key.
Todd, you can look at infrastructure in many ways. And again, yes, water, sewage, those are the things that need to be brought into to actually create the infrastructure that we need for our residents to come into this county. The other thing is infrastructure also on the county level, we have to continue is working on updating our facilities. I'm committed to do that. I was committed from the first day coming in. The other thing as far as infrastructure is our emergency services. We need our emergency services, both fire, ambulance, and police. If you take any of those out of the picture, you have created a dramatic change for our community. Those are needs. Those are part of our infrastructure. I will and have continued to support those emergency services. I've been in the emergency services now going on 50 years. I know what it's all about. I know what our needs are. And I will continue and commit to making sure that we have all those infrastructures that are needed for our residents of Indiana County.
Aaron Lehman.
All right. So infrastructure. I agree about the water and the sewer. One of the things that we need to do is make sure that we have buses. People in rural areas, if they don't have a car or they don't have somebody to drive them, how are they supposed to get into Indiana? How are they supposed to get groceries? How are they supposed to get anything like that? So we need to make sure that buses can come out. I mean, one of the things that they talk about is the stuff in Indiana, and people from Arma want a bus more often to take them to Indiana. So that's one of the biggest things I feel. The other thing with EMS and fire companies, which Mike said, is, you know, a lot of times the fire hall is the place where all the events happen. So if there isn't a fire hall in these small communities, people are not going to have, they're not going to be able to come to the events, and that would be just very, very sad. So we definitely make sure that we're working on it, and I will learn from people that are in there. I will make sure that I understand, and that way I can, better use my skills to helping with infrastructure. Thank you.
Last word on projects for Indiana County, Robin Gorman.
Yeah, excellent. All well points made. I do want to bring in investing in mental health. It may not sound like an infrastructure type of issue, but I can assure you it is. It is in every aspect of our lives, in every business, in every infrastructure that you can imagine. So with the hospital, thank goodness, as one of our major partners in this community, we'll be building an adolescent, adult, and geriatric behavioral health facility. It's a $14 million project with 44 beds. And not that it is funny, but we tell them probably the first month that they are open, they will be full and have to add new beds. It will be a great service to this community. Aaron hit it. Along with those is the support services around it. People to have transportation in to get the care they need, or to have people go out to them. Food security, and also the caretakers and the caregiver services such as caseworkers. Thank you.
You are watching and listening to the Indiana County Commissioners Candidates Debate as we talk about issues important to Indiana County and from the county level. And our next question is for Shireen Hess as the leadoff responder. And the question has to do with a new facility coming to Indiana County. There have been questions raised about the amount of fines that have been paid by the owners of Air Liquide for environmental damage. Has the county investigated this company adequately, and what measures have been taken to ensure that they don't cause irreversible damage?
I am not aware. Thank you for the question. I'm not aware of the details of those fines at this point. I know that this is a business that is global in nature, and some $40 million or $17 million investment in Indiana County. And this is important. There are concerns. Of course there are. I think our regulatory agencies are paying close attention. I think that, these are private development kinds of operations that have a county partnership. We can do so much, and I am sure that the county is doing everything they can to ensure that all the regulations are being met. We need to understand that economic development in our rural areas is challenging. We don't have large roads to connect us, so we have to work with the assets we do have, and that is our farming community, and they also have needs, and this is a business that is not only going to help our farmers, and the dairy farmers in particular, have an outlet for a waste resource that is challenging for them to dispose of. It is going to supply an energy source, and it's actually going to be piped in and used to heat homes in our local area. I know it sounds like a lot of layers, and it is. There's a lot of layers to this project. We know that there are challenging things that go along with economic development, but this is for the good of the communities. I am very firm to make things as transparent as possible, and that is my commitment to those folks.
Mike Keith?
Just like any other business that is new coming into Indiana County or any other county, if it's moving close to your community, you should have an interest. You should know what it is going to do, what it's all about, and everything. And our planning office has done a very fine job of actually working with Air Liquide in this whole process. Now, not only Indiana County, but also you have the state environmental DEP, who actually has to do air quality checks for this kind of business coming in. Now, Air Liquide in this new process, it is very, very new, not only in Indiana County, but it's also new to our nation. But over in Europe, there is many plants that have been up and operating for many, many years. So the transparency between the county and the owners to the residents, I urge and support that. And there's going to be many, many more questions down the road of what's going on, and we need to answer those questions to the public. That's what we're committed to. Thank you.
Aaron Lehman.
Okay, so one of the things I feel is if you use local labor, then people are going to be more careful, because they're actually going to know about, hey, I don't want to affect my family, I don't want to affect my neighbors, that type of thing. So if you're using Ohio, if you're using other labor, bringing it in here, they are not going to be as invested as people in our area. So we need to make sure that we're using people in our area, using union laborers that know what they're doing to do the cement work, to do everything like that. That way, we're getting a proper plant, and we're also making sure that we're having local people care. Thank you.
All right, Robin Gorman.
So we did meet with Air Liquide early on, obviously, much like you do with any investor that's coming here. And then we worked diligently, and I can't even, for over probably 2 years, with countless meetings, to sort of go over the company's financial plans, their reputation, what they were bringing to us, how they would work with our farmers who are invested with them in this project, to help them have with the biodigester and the recycling materials back in their farms, but also make a profit with their dairy gases and droppings that they will use to make the methane. We held an open forum at Homer City, and yes, and I agree with the workers, and there were some real things brought out, but a good dialogue was had, and we need to figure out together how we go forward and have them invest in our community.
And the final response on this one, back to Shireen Hess.
One thing that government can always do better is talk more with the folks who are affected by our decisions and invite that dialogue to happen as soon as possible. Obviously, there's discretion that's needed in certain projects, but in most instances, we can talk about how it's going to affect your community, and we can also, as partners, major partners in these projects, really push for local labor and union labor, if at all possible. Those are very key issues for us. And also, one thing I'd like to do in my next term is talk about how we can have community benefit agreements for any of the initiatives that we take on. We can no longer say, well, we know best. We cannot do that. It is unfair, and it does not help relationships. So that is my promise to our communities. We will talk to you as much as we possibly can. Thank you.
All right, we have time for probably one more question. We can be flexible at the top of the hour, and then our closing statements. We also do want to give you each a chance to go back and revisit any of the topics that we have talked about today. Mike Keith, you'll have the first chance at this question. It's another environmental concern. A lot of trains come through Indiana County carrying hazardous materials. Should the county be doing anything to ensure that something doesn't happen here, like the health and environmental disaster that happened in East Palestine, Ohio?
That's a very good question, and it actually is a question that the people actually need to know, need to be transparent. I will tell you that here in Indiana County, our emergency management, we have one of the finest, if not the finest, emergency management systems here in our Commonwealth. Director Stutzman and his staff are 24 hours on situations like what happened in East Palestine. And honestly, our director, along with the deputy director and our 911 operations, they are constantly updating their records, updating the mapping system. They actually have vehicles that go out constantly to actually monitor what travels not only on our rails, but what travels on our roadways. And it's hard to believe, but those small things all put together in lump sum creates a plan that if something does happen, Indiana County, I am confident, is ready for it. Will we be ready 100% for it? Never. But I will say I am confident with the staff and the director of our emergency management. We have a fine staff that actually keeps on top of these situations and will continue to keep on those situations. And we will continue to actually fund situations. For instance, if they need new equipment or whatever, I have always said, you got to put the tools in those hands for those people to do their jobs, and we will continue doing that.
Aaron Lehman?
All right, so, excuse me. Yeah, so it sounds like we have pretty good plans in place if this does happen. As I've gone out and talked to EMS and firefighters and everything, I realize that, they're prepared. They need, of course, they might need a little bit more resources, but they're prepared. And as long as we have a plan in place, as long as we can learn from what happened in other places, as long as we can do that, then I think we'll be successful if that happens. And it sounds like we have a pretty good infrastructure to do that. So good job.
Robin Gorman.
I'm really glad that question was fielded to Commissioner Keith first, because he, being 40 years in the firefighting and is just so passionate about this issue and has truly, I think, taught us all a lot. But he hit it on the head. Tom Stutzman, our emergency management director, sorry, Tom, but almost 40 years of experience in his position is just absolutely premier, and we're so fortunate in this county to have him. John Pividori, he's our hazardous disaster response planning right behind Tom. The preparation and the work that they do in this county that nobody ever sees, that's keeping us safe every day, is just absolutely premier. So they are at work. They do a great job, and we would be prepared. But as Mike said it, you can be prepared, but you can't always do everything perfectly in a major disaster or hazardous disaster.
And Shireen Hess.
Thank you. One of the things county government has to do in all the arenas in which it works is to think about the future and how to prepare for what could happen. And there's a great cost to that. And so we do work hard, and we depend on our terrific staff and all the partner agencies that go into local emergency planning kinds of initiatives and disaster planning. And not only do you have to plan for preventing these kinds of things, but you'd want to talk about the effects that it has on communities and on people and on individuals whenever there is a traumatic event. There are terrible effects to have to deal with, and thankfully we have great resources to do that in our mental health services and in our healthcare community, and so I'm very proud of what we do there. I think that it is important to work with within the region. Our Southwest Pennsylvania Commission does a lot of planning with rail safety, and so it's important for us to be connected in that wider way. Thank you.
Mike Keith, the final word.
I want the residents of Indiana County to understand that Indiana County is, as far as emergency management, is looked up to. And the reason I say that is our emergency management agency, actually, they get out there and they get updated throughout the state and throughout our federal. You have a FEMA, and then you have PEMA, Pennsylvania Emergency Management, Federal Emergency Management. They all stay in touch. They all share ideas, but not only sharing it here in Indiana County, they go out and beyond the scope and get everybody's ideas. So that actually helps to make and prepare better for a situation if it would happen here in Indiana County. I want to say one thing, that not only does this play on emergency management if something actually does happen, but all of our departments in some way, some form are tied into resources to make sure if a disaster happens, we're prepared. I am proud of all those other departments, our county employees, because they all work as a team and they work great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the time for our final statements here, but first we're going to go past the top of the hour. I'd like to give you each an opportunity to go back to any topic that we have talked about here during this time together, and you'll have a minute if you would like to add anything further. We'll do it in the order, of course, of our closing statements this morning. And so, Robin, anything that you would like to say?
I'm going to do an overarching, but it's really about the 911 issue that's upon us right now. In November of 1967, it's just a little fun fact, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, met with AT&T and found a solution for an universal emergency number, which became, in 1968, 911. How many times have we heard 911, where is your emergency? 9 million times throughout this state. It's incredible. So we do need, like everything else, the technology's evolved, but the costs haven't with it. We need a $2.30 upcharge or surcharge on our phone bills with a 15% increase until the next reauthorization 5 years from now. That is your first call for in your most vulnerable moments. So I just wanted to put that on the table.
All right, Shireen Hess.
Thank you. I want to talk about how we serve people, and we don't see these people as some broad mass of folks out there. They are individuals, and they are facing challenging times. There are a significant portion of our residents who face economic hardship every day. They are one step away from a disaster. We are here because we care about those folks in those situations as individuals. We also work on fixing the systems and all the problems that exist within the systems, and there are many. And that is just the nature of human beings and how we go about doing that. So I just want to say that we're focused on helping people find childcare, find transportation, find food when they are in need, housing, employment. All of these services are so critical to our quality of life and to the folks out there. I think that it is also very important that we assist our small businesses as much as we possibly can. Thank you for the question.
Mike Keith.
One thing that we really didn't hit on too much was economic development, and that's our backbone of this county. The support from the county to those businesses, we need to continue with our Planning and Development Corporation to actually not only keep what we have here, but also bring in new economic development. And there are so many opportunities. I would tell you as the commissioner, right now I did not realize how many opportunities Indiana County over the past 3.5 years has actually reached out to, and discussions are in play. And I know that the community out there doesn't hear it, but you have to understand there are things that have to be put in line before we can announce certain things. But I wouldn't tell you. Just look at what you've heard recently. These big names coming in, Texas Roadhouse, Permane Brothers. Look at all that and just get a picture of why are they coming in here? What is the reason? They see a future. So if they see some kind of future, so do we. So thank you.
And Aaron Lehman.
So I kind of what Mike was saying. What we have to do is I'll turn this off, okay. We need to make sure that we're promoting Indiana County. I mean, we have some amazing stuff here. We have an emergency vet. Where else has an emergency vet? We have a dog and cat cafe, so we're equal opportunity pet people. I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we need to show other areas that we have. We have ICTC. We have IUP. We have so many resources that a business could come here and use. We have a lower cost of living. This is all things that we have to make sure that will help with everything. It'll help with increasing the tax base. It'll increase with, getting companies into Indiana County. We also need to figure out things for, young kids to do because, we need to make sure we're keeping our kids here. My kids are probably not going to be able to be here. I want to make sure that other people's kids can stay here and make sure that they have the resources to succeed. Thank you.
All right. We did not get to some of the other questions that have been sent to us today. There's a great veterans question here. Project labor agreements and prevailing wage. People want to know about that. Highways and dangerous roads in Indiana County. What can be done there? Working with state legislators. Solar was a big topic with our listeners. The coroner's office and the new headquarters for them. Working with COVID-19 and being prepared for the next pandemic, and how do the commissioners actually work together? All of those were questions submitted in addition to the ones that we were able to ask today during this short time together. We've now reached the moment when we have our closing statements, and again, they are in the order drawn at the beginning of this debate. And so, Robin Gorman, you are first.
The first time I ran for county commissioner, I closed by saying, it is no small decision because it's no small job. Now, after serving 4 years, I realize just how true that statement was then and still is. The truth of the matter is, county governments are responsible for a wide variety of critical services that touch the lives of every resident. Mental health, intellectual disabilities, juvenile justice, children and youth, long-term care, drug and alcohol, housing, 911, emergency services, courts and corrections, elections, planning, land use, community, and economic development, just to name a few. I have become known for how much I love where I live, maybe sometimes too much. Indiana County and its economic viability and remaining a quality and peaceful place to live matters to me, and I know it matters to every resident I represent. I tend to get a bit passionate about serving the people I represent. Call me old-fashioned, but I take my work very seriously because as an elected official, my job is, quote, to serve we the people. So if you want a county commissioner that cares about our future, not mine, ours, don't sit this one out thinking local elections are not important. Thomas Jefferson himself said, America is not governed by the majority. It's governed by the majority who participate. Vote me, Robin Gorman, your county commissioner.
And next, Shireen Hess, your closing statement.
In Indiana County, we have watched things change over the last 50 years or so, but I'll tell you what remains is our ethic. We love our land. We love our way of life. We care deeply about the natural beauty that is here, and we help our neighbors, especially when they're in a time of need. And we continue in Indiana County to be a leader in producing food and fiber and the energy that our country needs. The future is so bright for Indiana County, and I'm very optimistic about our opportunities for the funding, for the partnerships, to how we're going to grow and bring prosperity and sustainability to the individuals and the businesses of Indiana County. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I think we're all committed to that, and there's just so many people that I run into every day who are truly optimistic about what can happen for this future of Indiana County. My focus as an experienced and knowledgeable public servant in 2024 and beyond is going to be on strengthening our human resources delivery systems, especially mental health and substance use treatment and prevention, supporting our small businesses and in the entire county. We've got a lot of great river towns about to burgeon. Bringing more funding in for broadband, that's one of the big ones. Ensuring that our public safety systems have the funding they need, helping our municipalities get the money for water, sewer, beautification projects, and so much more. I look forward to going throughout Indiana County over the next 4 years to hear what my constituency needs. And I hope I have earned your vote on November 7th.
Mike Keith, your closing statement.
To the residents of Indiana County, I will commit myself to you to make sure that I serve you as a county commissioner in every aspect that there is. Indiana County is a great place to live, and we all know that. The people from outside of Indiana County, we need to let them know that it's a great place to live, because not only economic development, but we have a lot of resources. We have a lot to offer all these people in Indiana. The services that the county provides, I want to continue making them better. I want to continue bringing services to each and every one of those residents, because that will only better their communities. I want to continue to create a partnership with our local governments. If we can continue bringing together dollars between local government and county government and state, we can do bigger things for our county. I look forward to the increasing of our businesses, and I will reach out there with our planning office and continue to bring opportunities for those businesses to come to Indiana County and provide jobs for our residents, good paying jobs. We also have a lot in our future. There's much on the table for Indiana County to actually take opportunity for, and one of it is working with IUP and the new doctors schooling coming in. So there is a lot to do, and I will commit to all those things, including broadband and the infrastructure we need. So I am the commissioner for this job, and I ask for your vote November 7th.
Aaron Lehman, your closing statement.
So unlike everyone else, I'm not in office yet. I have a total grassroots campaign that mainly consists of me knocking on doors and self-funding. People have said, ask this person for money, ask this person for money. I don't want to. I don't want to be beholden to anybody. I want to make sure that people that believe in me, are investing in me, is who I who I represent. A lot of them are rural areas. You know, I'm second on the ballot, but first in desire to help all of Indiana County succeed, especially the rural areas. I'll strive to meet the needs of the residents as one of your commissioners. The bottom line is I'll work hard each and every day, which I've been doing with my small campaign. Knocking on 3,000 doors, talking to people, going to events, getting out there so people can actually see who I am and what I'm all about. If you give me 4 years, I promise I'll make you proud, just like I've done to all my nonprofits, the Homer Center Parks and Recreation and Family Promise. Ask any of my board members, I think they'd be proud of me. You know, all of Indiana needs a voice, and together you can make Indiana County a place where people want to move to and live. So vote for Aaron Lehman, vote for a change on November 7th. Thank you.
Our thanks to all of our candidates. Election Day, of course, is coming up on November the 7th. We encourage you to participate in the election as a voter for county commissioner, for your local school boards and municipal offices. And we thank you all for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Our candidates debate here on WCCS. We are grateful for you as a listener and viewer on Renda Digital TV for joining us as well.
101.1 FM.